Does the future terrify or inspire you more?
Oh, I think it inspires me more because, like, just now there's not so much going on, so the future actually looks a little bit brighter.
Do you find yourself thinking about it a lot?
Yeah, I would say in terms of like music-wise, yeah, I'm constantly thinking about it because there's not so much that we can do right now apart from writing and more writing. So it's nice to think about what could come of that in the future.
Are you a planner? Do you tend to kind of have things mapped out in your mind in terms of where you want things to go, or do you tend to kind of let it happen in the moment more?
I don't know. I think I've got kind of a mixture of both. I think sometimes I like to plan things out. Whether I stick to that plan is a whole other thing. So I tend to kind of work off my own little ideas that are coming out of my head every day. I try to stick to a plan if I can.
The reason I kind of ask is because the new single that you've put out feels like something that's kind of taking stock of the past as it looks ahead, and it's definitely a single that's kind of looking forward to the future in terms of the kind of perspective of it. In a more direct sense, did you kind of look at your back catalogue and the stuff you put out before you began working on it, and did you have that in mind as you began to construct the new single and the new kind of direction for the sound?
Yeah, definitely. I think the stuff I put out before is completely different, but I kind of like that in a way. It just shows how I've evolved as an artist and how my writing has changed as well, working with different people. And I think when I started working on Glow, I actually started writing it a few years before I released it, and it was a completely different other song, and I had so many different ideas for that. And when I finally got round to working on it with JP, and the ideas that went on that track at that time were completely different to what I'd imagined, and I think that was quite a good way of doing it. I wasn't so sure what I wanted, so I just left it for a while, and when I came back to it, just a whole new direction. So
Did the song change quite a lot throughout the production process then? Was it quite a big evolution?
I mean, from when it was written, it sounds completely different. I had, visions of it being just a regular pop song, and although it still is a pop song, I think it is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of stripped back. I think there's not as much synth as I thought there would be, but I like that. I think it's showed how I've changed musically as well. So yeah, I think it has changed a lot. But in terms of when we started properly working on it in December, we got it finished within like a month, so it was all relatively quick.
How many sessions did you go in for? Were you in quite a few times, or was it kind of done in the one block?
I think we managed to record it in at least 3 sessions, and JP kind of spent some time producing it over a few weeks, so it was actually quite a quick process. Mainly done in a flat, so it was actually a really nice environment to record in because I hadn't really done that much before. I think I prefer it to working in a studio, and I find I get ideas out much quicker in a relaxed setting rather than a studio. So,
was the atmosphere quite different? How did the atmosphere kind of compare from a regular studio setting to working in the flat?
I think I felt a lot less under pressure. Just recording in someone's flat and taking my time with things, and if my voice isn't sounding great or I wasn't sure of something, I could just sit back, take a minute, and not have to worry about how much it's costing me an hour or wasting people's time. It's just a lot more relaxed, and I think that's what I need. As I reckon when I'm, when I'm in studios, I do get a bit stressed out, and I always find that my voice sounds a little bit more rubbish when I'm in a studio because I'm constantly thinking about what I've got to do and who's listening and things like that. So just doing it in a living room kind of fits the theme of the song, I guess, as well. It's very relaxed. So
do those stresses carry into the writing process when you're originally composing the song, or is that a zone that's kind of free from that?
I think when I'm writing, I'm always relatively relaxed. I don't write unless I'm kind of sitting on my own, feeling quite chilled. I never really write under pressure, so that part's always quite relaxed. It's just when it comes to the recording process, I sometimes get a bit stressed out. But I think the more I do it, the less stressed out I'm getting. So,
I mean, when it comes to the writing process of it as well, and the kind of perspective and the narrative of where you're coming from, would you say you write more often from a place of understanding or a place of confusion? Because this song kind of feels like something that's you working through a lot of things and kind of coming to terms with it and understanding stuff.
Yeah, that's actually like kind of interesting because I was just looking back at a couple of songs that I started writing last year, and a lot of them were me writing about situations during them happening. And I think often before I used to write about them after, once it was all finished, and like a total understanding of what was going on. And in the past year I seem to be writing more about like in the moment. So I guess, writing a bit about my confusion of things and working things out. And to be honest, I think it's like a better writing style for me. I think it's kind of, I suppose I do write a bit more in the moment and kind of in the heat of things, so it works for me.
Does that affect the feeling you maybe get, say, 6 months on from writing it? Like if you look back on a song that was written in the moment and a song that was written on reflection, are the feelings you get from it quite different upon reflection?
Yeah, definitely. When I look back at Glow, when I started writing that, I was, in a state where I was a little bit confused and didn't really know what was going on. And when the track was finished and I listened back to it, it was quite nice to see that it had worked itself out. There was a little bit of editing within the writing when we worked on it in December. There was a whole other verse, but we switched things around and that verse kind of got ditched and replaced with a new verse that worked better. And it was interesting to look at the two side by side and see how different they are to when I'd overcome this thing and when it was going on at the time. So it's quite nice to edit the song in that way almost. So.
What was the initial verse about? The original one that was dropped?
Oh no, now let me think. This will come to me. Well there's a line in it that says, I should use my senses but I can't find them. And that was kind of about not feeling emotion and knowing that I should, and trying to figure out which emotion I should be feeling at that moment, and I just couldn't find it, so I didn't know. And then the new verse actually is reflecting on the specific emotion I was feeling and how I was letting things go. It's quite an interesting contrast to see that I literally just put that verse in the bin and got a new one, and it seems to make a lot more sense to the situation at the time.
Does songwriting ever help you find the emotion you should be feeling in a moment? Can it kind of help you hone in on it and discover what you should be looking at?
What?
What you were saying there about how in that moment you thought you should be feeling something but you weren't and you couldn't figure out what you should be feeling. Does songwriting ever help you do that? Can it help you hone in on the emotion you should be feeling in that moment and kind of understand it a little bit better? Yeah,
definitely. I think I think that's why I do it, and probably why a lot of musicians do it, is it does help. Whether it's something happy you're going through or sad or confusing, just writing a little bit about it and figuring it out in your own way. It definitely helps me understand my feelings, and I think it's quite therapeutic, isn't it? And once you hear that finished product afterwards and you listen to what was going on and what you wrote about and now this finished song, it's really rewarding, and it's nice to kind of reflect back, so definitely.
I was watching the video you did for it as well. Louis Jameson?
Louis Martin.
Louis Martin. Don't know who Louis Jameson is. The way that you're in that, you're kind of expressing yourself in a different way through like dance and through movement. Does movement play any role in the composition of the song? Can it play any role?
Yeah, I had visions for what I wanted the music video to be while we were working on the song. I kind of knew what direction I wanted it to go in. I never really thought I would dance in it, because as you can tell if you've watched the video, I'm not much of a dancer. I just kind of, just grooved out a little bit.
Had you pre-rehearsed that, or was it very much just in the moment?
No, it was in the moment. I knew it had to be, because if I rehearsed it, I would just end up looking like a knob. So I just kind of improvised that, and it was good. I think we did a good few takes, and each take I just moved in a completely different way so that there would be at least something in there that would work. I think it does work with the song. I didn't want there to be too much storyline in the video, because I thought that would take away people listening to the lyrics and perceiving what they want to perceive. I didn't want a music video to show them something. So apart from me just moving around and running through a field.
Which feels more organic as a means of expression for you, movement or songwriting?
I mean, definitely songwriting, because the movement bit comes after, I think. I know what I want the visuals to be of a song when I'm working on it. I know what I want the video to be, or I know what I want the photos to be like as well that represent the track. So I think the songwriting part, that's what I'm most passionate about and what kind of gets me the most. And then the movement part always comes to follow.
Are you quite a visual songwriter then? Do you have kind of images in your head as you're working on them?
Definitely, yeah. That's definitely my kind of style for songwriting. I do visualize things, and I use a lot of imagery in my songwriting, I think. I think that's kind of what helps me write, actually. I really liked writing in school, so I feel like I know how to describe a situation in a song without actually blatantly saying what it is. So.
Is that something that's kind of come with time, that ability to do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was like 13, 14 and writing songs about boys and tidying my room and all those angsty things, and they were very much blatantly talking about what I was mad about. And as I got older and matured a little bit as a songwriter, I've definitely found ways to make it sound a bit nicer. I hope.
What was the song about tidying my room? I'm interested to know how that went.
Just me writing. So that song Palace that's on my album, I started writing that when I was like 12. I found the first verse in like an old notebook, and I thought, oh, this is hilarious. So I thought I'd adapt on it, and it ended up working. It was kind of a joke at first, but things like that, just writing about being grumpy when I was in school, and I don't know, at least it was good practice for writing not so shite songs.
Katie, thank you very much.
Thank you.